It's easy to say that FNAF has become a mainstay in pop culture. And while FNAF fans are a rather secluded species, that doesn't mean everyone else doesn't know about FNAF. It's a very well-known thing, you know, show a random person on the street a picture of Freddy, they'll probably recognize that guy. FNAF has gotten much bigger than itself, and because of that, it has gotten countless parodies over the years. And no, I'm not talking about fan games released online, I'm talking about parodies made by big companies. I'm talking about when a company sees something, doesn't want to get the license, so they make the worst thing you've ever seen. What is this? Ew, 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 why do I have it? Why is it in my house? Ew! I'm not just going to be talking about the big corporations, okay? Basically, anything that doesn't have the official FNAF license that decides to reference FNAF or be derivative of it or whatever. A lot of stuff I'm going to talk about here probably wasn't even intentional, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So I'm going to divide this video by 3 sections. We're going to talk about merch projects, then we're going to talk about like things that it's like just a little reference to FNAF and other media, and then we're going to talk about things that are actual like video productions or like movies and stuff. And I wanted to start off with some parody merchandise. Now, it can be kind of hard to distinguish between a bootleg piece of merchandise and a parody piece of merchandise, since they are relatively similar. However, there are some key differences. Most things that I would consider a parody product were likely sold in actual stores. Talking like your Walmarts, your Targets, your GameStop, stuff like that.
Don't call anybody!
And these parody products are usually part of a pre-established brand that does gimmicky parody stuff. Like Wacky Packages, which is a series of trading cards and stuff, which basically just make these, like, puns out of various products that you could find in stores. Now, there's nothing really too interesting about most of these, and a lot of the jokes don't even make sense. But they did release a FNAF card, and it is a play on fidget spinners, so I assume they were just like, oh, FNAF's a trendy thing that the kids like these days, and those fidget spinners, they're all the rage, so they made this. Freddy's glow-in-the-dark spinning bow tie. That's bold of them to assume that they would make a FNAF fidget spinner that isn't just a fidget spinner with the character's face on it. And they did a second one, which is a parody of the Five Nights at Freddy's core collection box art for the PlayStation 4, which is, it's so, like, oddly specific, and it's much more, like, weird than the previous one, I think, but it's just a very common trend with these things for them to just be like a gross out joke. And yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's open source collection. Okay, shut up. I like glow-in-the-dark spinning bow tie better, okay? He's got personality, he's got wit and charm. Look at this guy. Foxy says it's guaranteed for 5 nights. That's pretty... Another one of these parody card brands is Garbage Pail Kids, who is arguably one of the most popular ones. They take Cabbage Patch Kids, like, style, and then they turn it into parodies of other things. It's a very specific thing, but they're pretty popular. And they made a FNAF card, which actually has 2 different names. It goes by Frightening Freddy or Army Matronic, and I can't tell which one is better. I think I like Frightening Freddy, but you can see his pizza is made out of human remains, which is what a lot of people assumed FNAF was about for some reason. Has anyone else noticed this trend? Is this just me, or am I, like, the only person who has noticed, like, a bunch of things that, like, don't understand FNAF, just, like, thinking that's what the game is about, like, they turn you into pizza? Am I going insane? Like, is this not the exact same pizza that showed up in the SML Bowser Jr.'s 8th birthday Freddy Fazbear's Pizza video? So we got some YouTuber products. You know Pyrocynical, classic YouTube apology video guy? Well, he got a Youtooz figure back in the day. Now, this isn't what's important. What's important is the second version of it, which was the Pyro Vision Youtooz. Now, if you didn't know, Pyrocynical's character, when you take off the TV head, is just kind of Foxy from FNAF. I don't know why. He doesn't really like FNAF, to my knowledge. And even though this barely looks like Foxy, it is technically a Foxy figure. And I've considered it for my collection many times, but, you know, then I consider, maybe I don't want Pyrocynical in my collection. This is funny, because not only does Youtooz actually have the FNAF license now, but they've actually released a Foxy figure based on another YouTuber with a Foxy avatar, Fusion Z Gamer, and this one is officially licensed. So it's kind of funny how Youtooz came full circle there, although Fusion Z Gamer, much better outcome. There's also some YouTuber plushies in the FNAF scene that have gotten pretty close to FNAF characters. One of them that you may be mentioning is, oh, didn't you make one? And yeah, I guess my Night Bunny plush does technically count, since this character was originally designed as a fusion of Nightmare On and Vanny. Well, I don't know, I think she's different enough, and it helped that the actual character has nothing to do with FNAF in my comic. But yes, I did make a plush that was very heavily inspired by FNAF. There was also the Sly Pie Slippy Makeshit plush, which... That's just Lolbit with glasses. You can take the glasses off. Is that legal? Like, I feel like the base plush here is very, very recognizable as the character still. Like, that's just Lolbit. And also, the character in the videos is literally just, like, a Lolbit plush with some stuff added onto it. This is not very subtle on what it's based on. This product is funny. Although Sly Pie's other makeshift plushies are very, very not FNAF characters. It's just this one where I question the legality, since that is kind of just a FNAF character. There's no tiptoeing around that. It's like if I took Mario and I made his eyes yellow and gave him sunglasses and called him Doofus and made a plush of it. The Quinnamin Onage plush is also very, very similar to Vanny from FNAF, obviously. Which is a very similar case, but at least it doesn't look as much like its official counterparts. Then we got Tub, who is a YouTuber who covers very heavy topics in his video essays, but despite not making any FNAF content, he does have primarily FNAF-themed branding on his channel. And he made this plush based on his profile picture with a very Springtrap-inspired mask, which, you know, this is fine, this is perfectly fine. This is just a case where it's clearly inspired, but it's way too different to be considered a parody even. But Tub also has another brand called Earl, and they made a variant of their Earl plushie that is just dressed up as Freddy Fazbear. You know what, I respect this thing. This thing has wit and charm. It's just like glow-in-the-dark spinning bow tie. I actually almost bought this one when it came out because I thought it was funny, and I honestly really regret not buying it because I kind of want this now. And then we got Hangrees, which is a brand that makes figures of pop culture characters as parody versions that are themed around farting. And here we got Five Nights of Farts, which is a figure of Freddy Fazbear that poops out red goo that comes out of a Kit Kat wrapper. I've had this thing for a few years now, and the mere idea of opening it absolutely sickens me. I pity you if you own this thing, because it's truly something that nobody should have placed upon them. There's also a bronze variant of this thing, and I kind of want it, but it's also like I don't know how to find it, and it's kind of stupid. Now we're gonna get into some juicy stuff. FNAF references that can be found in your favorite things, like Steven Universe.
Fuck Steven Universe!
I don't actually have anything against the show, I just think that clip is fun. This comic panel, that's just Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica in the background, okay. There's a couple things on here that are a bit questionable, but it's like, you know at least a couple people on the team were like, that's FNAF. So, yeah, I think they count. Now, there's a FNAF reference in The Loud House. I just don't want to mention its name too loudly because this fan base is scary. In Season 7, Episode 7, there is this thing in an attic, I think, and there's like all these heads of animals, and they're like scary, and they're very clearly a reference to the FNAF 1 cast, which, you know, Dreadbear, we can get you out of there, don't worry. In the Owl House, Season 2, Episode 8, there are these animatronic animals. You got a bear and a purple bunny. If that wasn't enough, the bird also has a bib. In the online web series Chicken Nugget dresses up as Freddy Fazbear. Yes! Yes! Now, I don't know much about this game, but in That's Not My Neighbor, there is a character named Dr. W. Afton, and in the nightmare mode of the game, he turns into this, and that's just Springtrap, be honest. Around the release of the FNAF movie, the official Sonic the Hedgehog social media accounts posted this image, which is an obvious reference to the FNAF movie poster. And an even more deliberate FNAF movie poster reference was posted by the official Rick and Morty accounts. And I think that's a good way to segue into this next part, which is artists who work on official things, who draw crossover artwork that isn't technically official, but it's technically also official because it was drawn by an official artist, so it's kind of an official reference, but not really. Pinky Pills, you know, everyone's favorite official FNAF artist. That's undebated, I mean. Pinky Pills drew this image of Rick from Rick and Morty, sitting in Fazbear's Frights, with Morty being dragged away on the cameras by Springtrap. It is a funny little piece of art. We also got this one of Beavis and Butthead looking at Ballora. Guys, she drew the Family Guy FNAF image, the iconic Family Guy FNAF image that everybody has seen. Pinky Pills drew it. What the hell? One time, Butch Hartman, creator of Fairly Odd Parents, threatened to draw FNAF fan art. Then he actually followed through with it, sadly. I'm getting so off track. These aren't even parodies. These are just, like, things. I think it's about time we get into the real juicy stuff of this video. So now I think it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. Five Nights at Freddy's cinema parodies. Things that were on the big screen, except only one of these was. And we'll get into all the lore with Willy's Wonderland in just a bit, but first I want to give some appreciation to two projects that have their homes on YouTube. Now getting the first one out of the way, Radioactive Chicken Heads is the greatest band of all time.
Any last words, Carrot Top?
Alright, Chuck. Y'all better listen real close, because I'm only gonna say this one time. Clock! Radioactive Chicken Heads! Radioactive Chicken Heads!
Now I've been infatuated with this band for the past month or so, and it was because I was rediscovering an old video I remember them making called Pest Control, which I could have sworn as a kid thinking it was based on FNAF, but looking at the upload date, Pest Control, aka Kill Chuck E. Cheese, is Radioactive Chicken Head's most popular song easily, sitting at a staggering 19 million views, and it was uploaded in 2007. I wasn't alive yet. And you know, it's probably important to mention, Radioactive Chicken Heads has been doing this since the 90s. They are in it for the long game. And it involves our favorite characters rocking out as this scary-ass Chuck E. Cheese just, like, terrorizes this obvious, like, Chuck E. Cheese that they just rented out. I like the outdoor shots where they just, like, poorly edited the logo there, and then the sky is also changed for some reason. Now you may be saying, who's this carrot guy? Now this carrot guy is Carrot Top, and this is one of the greatest characters ever created. Just the coolest guy ever, no debate. Right up there with Killer Bean and the janitor from Willy's Wonderland. Now sadly, Pest Control is not something I can talk about all day because it's not technically related to this video topic. This is not a FNAF parody. However, there was a sequel to Pest Control released in 2020 called Somebody's Watching Me, which is a FNAF parody. And they've also redesigned Yucky Cheese in this video, and he looks a bit like Nightmare Fredbear. Probably not exactly based on Nightmare Fredbear, but definitely supposed to look more FNAF-ish. While I do like his original design, where it's just like a rugged Chuck E. Cheese costume, it actually just looks like an old creepypasta image, I love it. But this new design is much more original, and I love him for that. So this video opens with a very long, ominous phone call from this mysterious man, which is a vast change of pace from the chef guy eating the pepperoni in the first one. But this guy's talking to Carrot Top, who just got his brand new job at Yucky Cheese Pizza Slime Theater. I'm just an average guy with an average life. I work a 9 to 5, and I pay the price. This part has been stuck in my head consistently for the last, like, month, and I have no idea why. This specific, just like everything about this, the delivery, the sentence. Carrot Top just has a very appealing accent, I think. I don't even know how to properly describe it. It's just simply good. But basically, the plot of this is that Carrot Top is working his job at Yucky Cheese, and he just feels like he doesn't have any privacy. You know, he feels like he's being watched by a fearsome foe. I really like these whack-a-moles, they're good. All of the masks from this band just, like, ooze personality, and I really love them. Like, all of the stuff that they make for these videos is just, it's pure passion, okay? We have too much slop nowadays. This is a true work from a group of people who just love doing this stuff. But then Yucky Cheese and a bunch of other various animatronics show up, and the band just immediately starts beating them up, no hesitation. And our phone guy is just laughing and shaking his fist at everything. He's so happy.
I don't feel safe anymore! Oh, what a mess! I wonder who's watching me now! The IRS!
Why is the writing good? Go watch Radioactive Chicken Head's videos, okay? It's life-changing. I want to mention Carrot Top and Radioactive Chicken Heads. They followed me on Twitter after I made a brief tweet about the fact that I wanted to make this video. So if you're watching this, I want to say congratulations on 100,000 subscribers, and you're awesome. So you guys remember YouTube Red? Back when YouTube would offer exclusive content briefly for people who were subscribed to their premium service. Now this didn't last very long because most of the exclusive content sucked. But it was basically YouTube taking some of their biggest creators, giving them a high budget, and letting them make a show. But it wasn't really that, it was more so just YouTube trying to make, like, TV shows on their own, and then having the creators star in them. I don't get the vibe a lot of these creators actually cared that much, or had that much creative control.
Look, it's Trioris. Say hi, buddy.
Huh. Hey, be nice.
One of these creators' shows that came out of YouTube Red was Game Theory GameLab, which was a concept where game theory would test game theory concepts in real life. Which basically just amounts to, let's do something that happens in a video game in real life.
Of Mirror's Edge. See that guy behind me? Fear through animatronic survival restaurant horror gaming. Oh yeah, it's a real thing. Way back in 2014, Five Nights at Freddy's came out. A restaurant.
Who the hell is this guy? So obviously, naturally with game theory, they really wanted to do a FNAF episode, but they couldn't secure the license for whatever reason, due to like conflicts with Warner Bros. Having the movie rights at the time, I guess. So they settled with getting the rights for Five Nights at Candy's instead, and it's just really funny because they barely even acknowledge that it's Five Nights at Candy's. They talk about Five Nights at Freddy's straight up with Five Nights at Candy's footage behind it, and it's really funny.
Five Nights at Freddy's, in less than 2 years, has 5 games, a movie deal, a book deal, merchandise lines, and a 6th installment in the works.
Bro, they haven't even released the 4th game yet. A big critique I have with GameLab is the fact that I think this would be way more entertaining if they just let MATPAT'S actual team take over for most things. Because while MATPAT is hosting it, it really doesn't have any of the personality of a game theory video. The editing is very dry, generic reality TV stuff. It's just simply not that fun. The actual stuff they made for this, though, practically, now that's where the interesting stuff is. So we got the cast of 3 characters here, and we got Candy here, who is an honestly really good-looking suit. Like, it's not necessarily accurate to the game, but it's just a really good Candy the Cat design. And thank you to Mug B on Twitter for this discovery, very helpful here. This animatronic head they use for Candy actually has a ton of history behind it. So apparently there's this company called Animal Makers Inc. that has a bunch of animatronics that they rent out to places. And if you look at this whole animatronic band here, you can see pretty clearly that's the exact same cat. It looks like they either reused the head or reused the same mold to create the Candy the Cat head, which is really cool. And this cat animatronic actually has some other notable appearances other than this FNAF video, like this Nokia commercial. And might I just say, these animatronics look really good in this. I wish it wasn't 3 pixels. And it also made an appearance in 21 Jump Street.
I am the coach, so I need you. Name me some Doug McQuaid.
I have literally no idea what this movie's about. What has happened? Again, thank you to Mug B for bringing this to my attention. I'm basically just relaying the information from one of their replies to me, so thank you very much. Now, as for these other freaks, I don't even know what's going on. So we got this one here, which is very obviously just Withered Bonnie, but they made his fur yellow. Now this is interesting to me, like, looking at this legally, because they clearly made him yellow to try to avoid copyright, but it's funny because FNAF has a yellow rabbit. But, you know, he's pretty funny. I like this guy. And then we've also got this thing. And this one is probably one of the funniest looking FNAF costumes I've ever seen, I think. He looks like one of the Mario Muffet Adventures Nightmare plushies with the real nails. This thing is just hilarious looking, and I like him. You know, he's very endearing. This is probably my favorite of the 3. Despite Candy being the only one that's like objectively good, this guy is he's just so charming to me. And YouTube just loves parodying FNAF. YouTube Rewind 2015, they put Freddy in there, but he's blue. And that's the only copyright deterring factor. They made him blue. I can't play the audio, so I'm just going to talk over this. But look at this. This is a good thing. There's also Chica here, and she looks not like Chica. Willy's Wonderland is potentially the best movie ever made. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but I like this movie a lot more than I was expecting to. I was expecting to not really like it that much and find it boring, but I was so pleasantly surprised that I cannot for the life of me hate on this movie. But before I talk about a lot of that stuff, I want to address some stuff. So, it is a common thing where people will debate on if Willy's Wonderland was based on FNAF or not. Now, according to the screenplay writer, it was written a decade ago at the time of 2021, which means that the film would have been written in 2011. Or at least the first version of it. Now, although he has no proof provided to back up this claim, I do give him the benefit of the doubt that he did come up with this before FNAF existed. Chuck E. Cheese animatronics are freaking scary. It makes perfect sense that people would have came up with the idea of making them scary well before Scott Cawthon did. We even saw an example of exactly that earlier in the video. However, when there was a leaked script for Willy's Wonderland, it seemed to have some things that were...
Looks very, similar.
A bear with a top hat and a tie, a pirate cove, a bird and a rabbit. The bear is even pointing out to have glow-in-the-dark eyes, like, come on. This was not sleek, and FNAF fans quickly took notice. Now, apparently the creator of Willy's Wonderland had denied even knowing it existed, but I'm gonna be honest, I just don't believe him. The leaked version of the script was apparently a newer version of it at the time, which leads me to believe they probably had this old screenplay for an animatronic horror movie, saw this wildly popular video game come out with a very similar concept, saw that video game was going to get a movie adaptation, then switched up the screenplay a bit to fit the game better so that they can capitalize it before the official product can. Which is why this old screenplay had some glaring character similarities. And the fact they changed these characters in the final film to less closely resemble FNAF characters, I think is pretty telling. Obviously, I don't know the full context behind the scenes, but that's my personal takeaway. This movie finally getting greenlit after so many years was probably a direct result of Five Nights at Freddy's popularity, no matter what way you slice it. It's not a ripoff, it might not even be a parody, but if you try to deny any correlation, you probably look a little silly. Now I'm going to talk about the funny Nicolas Cage movie. Now first off, I want to say this movie is just uploaded completely for free on YouTube, like you don't even have to this is just there. And it's been there for years. I guess the people who made this movie really just care that little. Now this movie stars Nicolas Cage of Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent fame. And he is a silent protagonist that does not say a single word throughout the entire movie.
I love this scene. This scene is so good.
You're not safe in there. We gotta get you out.
He just leaves. He's like an animal. Every time he interacts with another person, he's like a deer in the headlights. He's just so confused. Or he just doesn't care. And, you know, for being a protagonist who doesn't talk, he's very endearing. You know, you just want to know what's going on in his psyche. His only name is the janitor, and all he does in this movie is clean, drink PewDiePie juice, destroy animatronics, and get weirdly intimate with this pinball machine. I should probably mention how this is like barely a horror movie, nor is it trying to be. This is a comedy first and foremost. Yes, the things that happen are scary, like people die, but I don't know, I feel like this movie's trying way harder to make you laugh, and it's succeeding. Me and my friends were watching this, we were laughing, we were having a great time. It really felt like we were laughing with the movie, not at it. The movie was doing crazy and absurd things just for the sake of it, and it was working. The hype build-up for every single time Nicolas Cage is about to kill an animatronic is so good. I wouldn't say this is objectively better than the FNAF movie, but I also wouldn't say it's a bad movie at all. In fact, I found it very enjoyable. Like, sit down with a bunch of your friends, expect a funny movie, and you'll probably be entertained. Obviously, this movie's direction is much easier to pull off than what the FNAF movie was attempting. The FNAF movie wants to be taken seriously. This movie is clearly just trying to have a good time. And I think this movie is kind of exactly what a lot of casual audiences expected the FNAF movie to be. And I respect you, Willy's Wonderland. I think this is a perfectly competent, fine movie, and it's really funny. Apparently $4 million of this movie's $5 million budget went to getting Nicolas Cage, and I don't know if this is true because I found it on a Reddit post, but that would be really funny and would also make a lot of sense because I wouldn't expect an actor like Nicolas Cage to show up in a movie this cheap.
What if Daredevil fought fucking Willy's Wonderland?
I think Nicolas Cage from this movie could kill most MCU heroes. Anyway, yeah. This is a good movie, and I think that everything I talked about in this video is awesome. Except for Hangrees. That, you could keep it. I don't want it. God damn it. Radioactive Chicken Heads made a Willy's Wonderland song? Oh my goodness gracious. Gotta clean up this kitchen. No one left to pitch in. A terrible fright. We're spending the night working at Willy's Wonderland. Well, that was fun. Anyway.